Welcome back to the stream. Apologies for those who fell off, or apologies for me falling off. But we're back now. So, Sean, we were talking about the popular players from the game week and how they were going to ruin everything. Anyway,
I'm not sure if we are live.
We are, yeah.
Okay.
I got a different title here.
Gotcha. Yeah, Alejandro, back to your question. Yeah, it's more difficult when you have obviously smaller galleries. You're gonna have to take more risks than you might have to take if you have a bigger gallery. So for example, if I look through my stuff, which I'm just gonna pull up on my end while Laird sorts out stuff on his end. I'll tell you what my options were compared to like what my options would have been if I went with the lineup in Champ. So my lineup in Champ Rare right now would have been an inner stack, or I could have split it up. But so I'm not going to split up my stack when the game is in question, because if the game gets canceled, I don't want 3 lineups dead, but 1 lineup I might be okay with.
Sure.
And it was a very difficult decision this week because I think if that game goes, the inner guys are going to obviously smash. So it was difficult to not play it anywhere. And I did consider just using a D4 lineup and running it. But so right now, my Champ Europe lineup, my rare lineup is Donnarumma, Robertson, Ruben Diaz, Casemiro, and Jonathan David.
Must be nice.
Yeah. So like, it's a good lineup. Like it's a really obviously like playing Donnarumma. He's pretty much useless this year. You're just hoping to get through all of the issues within whatever's going on at PSG. But so like that lineup's good. Obviously, like that lineup is a solid lineup. Lots of people would love to have that lineup and be able to run that lineup. So like for me, it just made more sense to run that lineup that I know is not dead as of now. That has realistically 4 of those guys have really good matchups. Casemiro will probably start on the weekend because he did not start yesterday in the cup game. So like I can't see how he sits. Diaz did not play last weekend, so I don't see how he sits. Robertson's off 100 with a good matchup against Palace, and then Donnarumma has a good matchup, assuming he starts. The only person who's not a great play within that lineup compared to Champ Europe standards is Jonathan David. But that lineup is totally in play to go up there and get a tier 2, tier 1 card. And the inner stack, however, would have been in line to get a possible win. And I don't think this will win as much because it's not as correlated and it doesn't have as many studs. I'm not saying it couldn't do that, but I doubt that it would be able to put that up there. But it just made more sense to me to run this than that. And then, Mike, the Dallas situation, if Pace goes there, it's going to be Pace. They're not giving up an international spot to Pace for him not to play. Look at it as the same situation that happened last year with Inter Miami when
Marsman came
over. And like, I think Pace is probably more quality than Marsman. So like, they're not going to bring over Pace and not have him start.
It does seem like it would be a weird decision for like a 22-year-old goalie to go to the U.S. and not play.
Yes, I cannot see it happening whatsoever. It does not make any sense from that perspective. So like, I just don't think that happens.
Yeah. So speaking of U23 MLS goalies, I think we have to hash out this Thomas Hasel conversation in public.
We do.
So
I've already won it in private. So
I mean, it's
unfortunately for Laird.
I already had you admit to part of it you were incorrect about. So
what part was that?
So to give some background for those, I mean, everybody watching this has probably at least followed a little bit, but Maxime Crépeau, who was the goalie for Vancouver Whitecaps, got a trade to LAFC, which opened up the door for Thomas Hasel, who was the backup and is only 20 or 21, to be the starter in Vancouver. And there was a run on cards yesterday that comes when a new goalie gets named. And if you look at his price graph on Sorare data, it's just, the line, and then it spikes up. So the prices where 1.5, it was somewhere around there, right? And then we obviously saw prices keep going. There was like a 0.3, 0.4, 0.45, and then there was a 0.6. And Sean, at point 6, you were like, that's dead. Like there's no reason to buy Thomas Hazel at point 6 because there's no upside.
Yes.
And I disagreed with you, saying that if there was any like view of upside or any comparison, it's David Ochoa and Gabriel Slonina, who are both going for more than an ETH. So a bit of your argument was that Hazel wasn't even named the starter yet, which to this day is still true. And you were saying even if he was named the starter, then like the most he can go is like 0.8, which fundamentally is already upside from 0.6. But I'll leave that alone. But can you explain to me what makes Hazel different from Slonina and Ochoa in terms of U23 value this summer?
Yeah, so I think that there is, first of all, I still think that there's no value really at 0.6. Like, and this goes to the thing that Laird and I talked about. And yes, 0.6, he can go up from 0.6. But if he goes up from 0.6 to 0.8, that's not really much. I mean, yes, it is some, but like it just isn't really much. And you could just go buy Kosi Tanny for 0.7 or whatever and get a locked-in starting goalie that's like announced and known compared to that of Hazel, which is not like locked in, known starting goalie. So I think that when I say there's no upside, my opinion is that like you're paying 0.6 now. You're not, even if he's named the starter, like, and you know he's the starter, there's no other questions. He's not going to go up past like 0.8 right now. Like, yeah, he might go up to like 1, but it's same idea. Whereas I think your argument is more so all U23 goalies are going to go up or could go up. Is that more accurate of your representation of the argument?
I think it was more that there are only a few goalies like in his situation. Like and Tani is like the best comparison, but we kind of also openly argue that like Asia is always underpriced, and so, but I think Tani is I'm not even sure if Tani is the appropriate comparison to Hazel because he's obviously, we know he's the starter, but like Hazel's team like was better than what Tani's team was last year. Like I think Tani is closer to Slonina than he is Hazel in terms of like team.
I don't know. Vancouver's terrible. I know they've made the playoffs, but they're terrible. And the reason that the thing is the goalie scores okay for Vancouver in theory. Same thing. Like Slonina scored very well for Chicago. If you look and you sort U23 goalies by like an L40, Slonina's like second or something like that. If you have a player on a team that is effectively somewhat shot dependent, like they're going to face a lot of shots. If they don't give up 3 goals, they're going to put up a decent stat line for a goalie. And if they get a shutout, they're going to put up like 80, and it's really going to stand out compared to the reason. So here's the breakdown of the U.S. goalies, in my opinion. Slonina is an unknown to me. I think anybody that has Slonina at like 1.1 ETH, that's pretty much what it is, right? It's 1.1-ish.
Yeah, about that.
You should sell that. In my opinion, that's just not something you should have. So, and the reason for that is he's an unknown. One, he's like 17, which is great. And if he's a long-term starter, that's fantastic. But there's a lot of European rumors surrounding him where he'll likely go and plant himself on a bench in Europe.
I think that's the biggest negative for him.
It is the biggest negative for him. And then he also could see someone else come in and have competition at goalie. That could happen. It's a possibility.
It could, sure.
And I didn't think he was going to be the starter last year, and that wasn't even the plan. But then he was really good at the end of the year. He really was.
He was, yeah.
But I don't think they will be happy to go with him forever if he's the guy. So he has some risk there. And then like 1.1, like that's as expensive as everyone else you can have. So that's him. Hazel has a year left of eligibility, which is good after this year.
Yep.
Assuming he's the locked-in starter at Vancouver, there really shouldn't be any questions about him for a year or two, which is solid. The team's terrible. The team is not good. They just give up shots. They give up possession, which can be okay.
Good. Yeah,
it can be okay. That can totally be okay. So that's just what it is. That's what you're getting with him. Ochoa, in my opinion, is the best talent of the group in terms of like long-term potential where he could be as of now. That could be Slonina, but like as of right now, it's Ochoa. Like Ochoa has already made He's going to be on the Mexican national team frequently. Has a chance to be the Mexican national team goalie. If he moves from Real Salt Lake, a lot of the rumors were to like go to Chivas or somewhere in Mexico, which is still in America. And a lot of this all comes down to like one thing. America and Asia get about 3 months of the year where they are the only options.
Yep.
So you need goalies within Asia and America for U23 purposes, or you have nothing. As of right now, there's like 7 options. That's it. So like you need to have those 7 goalies. Like let's say you're playing D1, D2, D3, whatever, D4. You need those options. If you don't have them, you can't play them. So it causes those guys to be to go up. So I think Ochoa is the most locked in starter. There's no way he's not starting. And he also, if he transfers, it's a good possibility he goes to Mexico, not to Europe, which means he would remain in America. And also, like if he transfers to Mexico, there's no way he is not the starter in there, as in my opinion.
Sure.
So like those 3 are all of interest. The thing is like I think all of them are worse than like Tanny. Like I think Tanny's probably the best summer option at U23 goalie due to price, locked in starterness, all that stuff. But there's validity to me on all of these guys, and I actually think that if Yuya Oki was like a locked in starter, I think he would be the no brainer.
Oh yeah,
because they're the best team.
For sure.
They are like are on the fringes of the Champions League over there, and that team just is pretty solid. Plus, they have good U23 options. Even with Machida going, like I expect Sekagawa to be a center back for them, and then also Tsunemoto is really, really strong option. So those are the positives for him. And then Tanny obviously is on loan, but like it's clear with Tanny, he is the best prospect U23 goalie in Asia and in Japan because he already gets on the national team, even though he's on the bench, and he started for the Olympic team or like during Olympic qualifying. So like, I think he is the best option of those.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it, I think, well, I mean, it was yesterday when we were having this conversation the first time, but like the thing that pushed Tani down was the fact that he was possibly going back from his loan and nobody knew, like there was uncertainty that he wasn't going to stay there. And then as soon as it was announced that he was going back, his price popped right back up. So like that seems like he's fine. Yeah, Osako, we assume is coming back. Like I think the issue with basically Osako and Oki is we don't know. And we know with Tani. I think you're muted.
My bad. So we can go over all the goalies, the U23 options theoretically for this summer. So you have the 3 that we just talked about in the MLS. I don't really believe there are any within Argentina and Brazil. There might be someone that pops out.
There's one who I happen to have, so I can pump anybody who wants to overpay for it. Juan Romero might start for Gimnasia because Jorge Brown is out with an ACL, but I've also heard they're trying to replace Romero, and I think he loses it this summer anyway, so it's only through until July. But
yeah, and no, like when we're talking about these people, we are really talking about people that have more than 1 year left, so like they don't end in 6 months.
Right.
So Asia, you're talking about Hotano's dead. He's effectively dead. We assume he will be dead.
I can't see it like a reasonable situation where he starts.
Correct. Zion Suzuki is likely not going to be the option there. So I don't think you get Zion Suzuki. You get Songbom Kun for like 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
That's all you get out of him. So like he doesn't really count in this situation. Although he does provide value because of midweek utility with ACL and stuff. And then
now Sean disappears.
Here, can you hear me?
There you go.
I'm back. Woo! Yeah. Lots of technical issues today.
It's a rough one.
Osako is likely to be the goalie there, and then you have Kosi Tanny. So, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing else in Korea as of now that I know of, and I'm not as up to date on Korea as I should be. Like, they have random guys that play random, and then they're out. So, like, you could get someone. You just might not get someone either. So Tucker just said the 2 leads won't start next season. So, like, you're looking at like 6 to 8 options max, possibly as low as like 4 to 5. So you need these guys. Otherwise, you're not playing U23 all summer, which maybe that's fine for you. Maybe you're okay not playing U23 all summer. And if that's the case, so be it. But I think there's a lot of validity. I do think Pulskamp has a chance to get a starting job eventually. Freese isn't going to play. Megaloro isn't. He's gone. And then who was the other one? There was one we were talking about the other day. I forget who it was. It could have actually been Pulskamp. We were talking about Pulskamp, but I don't think Pulskamp's time is now.
Pulskamp's price is moving as if it is now. And it's kind of funny because I believe somebody told us that there was a move to get Pulskamp because he was given the #1 jersey.
Oh, yes. That's what
and nobody checked that Tim Melia has worn something else his entire career. And that's
correct.
That's why he's there. So
correct. And it's definitely it's slim pickings. In summer months, it is slim pickings. And we'll talk about it as well, maybe another episode or later today. We'll see where we get to. The options are more limited in the summer. You really are limited with players and goalie, defender. Like I know, like for example, defenders like Koki Machida, gone. He's out. Yuma Seko went to Grasshoppers there. He's gone. Like you just lost that. There are limited options in all of the categories in the summer to really look at. So I guess here's a question I have, Laird. I talked to Black about it the other day. By that, I mean like Black gave his opinion and then said like, I don't want to talk about it, and then left because like we don't agree on it and he didn't want to have a discussion on it. The U23 goalie bubble. I have a different opinion than Black. What is your opinion? Because I think you said yours is with Black as well.
What about it though?
So Black thinks that any U23 goalie like Diego Costa or Vandervoort is just not worth 2 ETH.
Oh.
He thinks it's a bubble. I don't think bubble is a good term. I don't think it's a bubble. So anyways, what's your thoughts on that?
So I think the game breaks if the minimum price for a U23 rare goalie is like 2 ETH. And the minimum price for a U23 goalie becomes 2 ETH if like Diogo Costa goes to 4. And you think he could go to 4.
Oh, I'm not necessarily saying he can go to 4. I just don't think it's a bubble.
Right. But I think because I think I did agree with Black on this, but I was saying like I think Diogo Costa or Vandervoort or any of them, like I think they go to 1 ETH or less before they go to 4 ETH.
Yeah.
And that's not to say if you buy one at 2.5 ETH now that they can't go to 4, but I think the game can't survive if U23 goalies are that expensive. And that's not to say that like Sorare will do something to keep the prices down. Like they're going to mint the cards anyway, but I'm not sure we're at a spot where like, I think you're going to find a reason for every U23 goalie to have to not be super expensive. Like I feel like the only way to do it is if they're we don't have really young goalies on like super teams now. Like obviously Diogo Costa is on like arguably the best team in Portugal, but like that's not his career upside. So like if he goes anywhere else, his scores won't be as good. And so you need to have like if Ederson or Mendy or I guess Donnarumma is like the example. Like if Donnarumma was a locked in starter, how much do you think he should be?
It's not a fair question, I guess, because
but like he should be the most expensive, right?
Yes. If Donnarumma was locked in, started every game, he's easily by far and away the best U23 goalie. But he's not a U23 goalie; he's a champ goalie because he's a champ. He's in champs in a good team. So like he's not really a U23 goalie; he's a champ goalie. So that's why I guess he's tricky. Like Diego Costa, like anybody. So like this is the way I break down the different regions, which we've talked about before. So like Champ Europe is greater than U23, which is greater than Challenger, which is greater than America, which is greater than Asia. So the breaking point is effectively if someone's a good enough scorer at the level above and they're dual eligible, you use them there. The only thing that is better than Challenger or than U23 is Champ. So if someone is in Champ, like Deo Upamecano, you are not using him in U23 most likely, because he's too valuable to use in champs which is a more valuable place to use him. And not saying like every week, right? Like some weeks you might use him elsewhere in U23 or like in global. Like you might do that. It all depends on a given week. But I think for me, the thing is if we go to 200, what are we at right now? Like we hit, I know I saw 80,000 users with at least one card the other day. So like we're probably in the 80 to 90,000 range, I think right now.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
The thing is limiteds are the entry point. I think, and this is why like I don't like limiteds and I don't really have interest in limiteds and I don't think it's the place to really invest, is eventually, and we may already be at this point, the rares and super rares and uniques are going to exceed demand. You are going to have too few of them for the demand that is out there for them. When those days happen, and I think you've definitely hit it for elite level super rares and all uniques realistically. But when you hit those numbers, when you get to that point, those leagues are going to be very expensive to play, and the entry point and the cost of entry is going to be significant. So like we talk about like a Bottlebore, Roxy, those guys that have come in and dumped a lot of ETH. I think there's a realistic shot in the next like year or 2 years, someone's going to come in and dump a lot of ETH. They're not going to be able to be getting up to the unique levels or the super rare levels. They might be playing the rare levels because the rare cards are going to be worth a significant amount.
Right.
To reach the saturation on the limiteds, it's going to take a lot more people and a lot longer to hit than it is with the rare. So like hypothetically speaking, like we're at 80,000 now. Let's say start of next European season, we're at 250, which I think is a totally realistic expectation. Would you agree?
Sure.
So let's say we get to the start of next season and we have 250,000.
That actually seems high now that I've said that. That feels a little high.
Maybe like 150, 200. But
yeah,
like
150 is
well, let's see. What have we moved from July? What have we gone from July to January this year?
Let's see. July is 20,000.
So we've 4x. So if we 4x from now to then, it could definitely be in the 250, 300.
Yeah. It's easier to 4x from 20 to 80 though than from 80
yeah,
to
but sometimes you ramp
36.
a lot faster and it definitely could happen. So let's hypothetically just say we get to 250. Hypothetically speaking, every year you're going to get 30 to 40 U23 goalies between all the leagues that we're covered right now. Some are going to skew older, some are going to skew younger. You might get certain players in certain regions. So like the issue is like what we just talked about. There's only a certain part of the year where you have to have Asian or Americans or you just cannot play U23. So we're going to get to a point where if we say there are 35, let's say 35 U23 goalies that are starting. Yeah, you're going to have guys that are unknown starters that are going to come in, guys that were expected that fall out. It's going to happen. So let's just say 35. There's only going to be 3,500 U23 goalies. And it's not going to be like Laird owns one of them. Like Laird, how many U23 goalies do you have today that are starters?
That are starters? Well, I have one more now because of Thomas Hazel, but I have possibly 4.
Okay, so you have 4, and your gallery is like what did you hit recently? You hit like 40 or 50 valuation?
No, I'm at 30 and change, I think.
Okay, yeah, you were at 30. Okay, so like you are a decent sized gallery, by no means a big gallery. I think I have 15 to 20 U23 goalies, and then maybe like another 5 supers, so like 25. So you're talking there's only going to be 3,500 rare U23 goalies, and people like me are going to have 10 to 15 of them. Well, I'm only like top 30 or 40 biggest galleries on the platform. There's people with bigger galleries than me. Like they're going to have 20 of these goalies. So like the entry point to get into like a U23 division where there's a restriction of you need a U23 rare goalie, it's going to be very expensive to get there.
Yeah, I'm just not sure that there are going to be enough people at that level. Like obviously,
and there might not be enough people at that level, but there certainly could be.
Sure.
There certainly could be if you need to come in with like 10 ETH and that 10 ETH gets you like a rare team and you have to pay 2 or 3 ETH for a goalie, it might be worthwhile. You might do that. You might be in that boat. So I think there is some validity that happens. I don't disagree with you that also might not happen. But we've also talked about, like, we've heard a lot of rumors recently with single scarcity divisions. The original iteration that I heard was absolutely moronic and made no sense at all, and I think would have just obliterated the platform. But let's hypothetically they say they go to a super rare platform where you have to have a super rare goalie, and they actually fix the prizes in that to where they're like actually coveted and you want to do well. Man, you're gonna have to spend like a Tesla to get in a U23 super rare goalie because there's just so few guys to get in there for an entry point.
So all of this talk about how expensive they are, and you don't think there's any upside at 0.6 with Hassel?
It's the point isn't like we're talking directly Hassel. So that would mean that no other goalie goes up. Like I'm saying, like, yeah, I think there's validity that there's upside in just the U23 goalies go up. I don't think there's upside in Hassel directly at 0.6 because I don't think he really can go up that much from there. I don't really think any of the starting U23 goalies can go up. I personally, my viewpoint on U23 goalies is a bit different than what it used to be. And let me preface this by saying if you get any starting U23 goalie, it is fine. But I think there is more validity in buying a super expensive guy that is a locked in starter that you are confident will not lose his job than paying 1 ETH for a Hassel or a Slonina. Like I would rather pay 2 ETH today for Vandevort than pay 1 ETH for Slonina because I'm more confident that Vandevort's locked in. He's also a elite level prospect that could be end up in like Real Madrid or Barcelona or someone in 4 to 5 years than that of obviously Slonina or Ochoa and those guys. So like I think that there's a lot more validity in that. And then I think there's also a lot more validity in buying these guys that are 0.05 to 0.1 ETH that are not on the radar. Like as soon as someone's on the radar, they're too expensive most likely. Like if someone there was a guy the other day that started one game because he filled in for someone during an international break and he's like 22 and I saw he went for like 0.35. Well, there's just not much upside there. Like he becomes the starter and he goes up like 2x. Like that's great. Like that's good, but I'd much rather take a lot more darts and try to hit a couple guys at 0.05 to 0.1 that are going to 10 to 20x. Like if you get a 18-year-old locked in starting goalie that starts, you're looking at like an ETH plus easily, which we see with Slonina. So like I'd rather take a bunch of shots at guys like that.
Yeah. So, but like comparing Slonina or Hassel to Vandevort isn't like you can't compare them because we're not
Correct.
like you're not buying like the benefit that Hassel and benefit in terms of price going up is that the supply is so low and not like hit supply of his cards, but of like when he plays, not many others play.
Correct.
And so I think you either have to say that he is underpriced or Slonina and Ochoa are overpriced, but like the price difference between them is much bigger than it should be. But we can at least agree that Kositani is way too cheap.
Yeah, like Kositani makes no sense.
Right.
Makes no sense. Yeah, like I think that that all of these guys should grow up because like what people don't understand is right, like Kositani is not an Asian goalie. He was a U23 goalie. Like Martin Vandevort is not a Challenger Europe goalie. He is a U23 goalie. So like they are not in different regions despite being in different regions because you're not playing them there. So people struggle to identify that and understand that. John, I think Dane St. Clair's still in Minnesota unless I missed a transfer news, but he's not really an option anyways, even if he were starting because he's ends his 23 very soon as well. And then
he just got signed an extension too, I think.
Yeah, so like I don't think that's anything to do.
He's Canadian. That's the only reason why there's a link.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like Techers, like I did it too with Paul Obi and stuff. Like I think anyone that's somewhat established just isn't worthwhile. Like I have been and by established I mean like 0.3, 0.4. Like if you get guys like I think 0.1's fine. Like so I bought and this is more of a preference thing because of Gank, but like I bought last week Toby Layson and I bought Vic Chambare because I have at this point like a bajillion Gank rares and super rares, and it makes sense to me to just continue that stream. So like, for example, and here's a good example, and I'm not saying go buy this person because they might not start. So I paid 0.14 for Toby Layson, and I think I paid 0.1 for Chambare. If Vandevort leaves, Toby Layson's most likely to start. That's like a 2 ETH card immediately. And like, there's enough rumors around Vandevort that
wait, why would he be worth more than Vandevort though? Like Vandevort's not
he'd be the same as Vandevort. If Vandevort leaves,
that's what you're saying. Okay.
But yeah, effectively, like, he would become Vandevort because like he's 19, Vandevort's 19, like they're all the same age. Like
gotcha. Sorry.
He effectively overnight turns into a 2 ETH card because Vandevort's gone. And the thing is like, if Vandevort is rumored to go places, which he is, those immediately turn into great cards. However, here's the other thing. Toby Layson's 19. He doesn't need to start this next year. If he doesn't start next year, it doesn't matter. I just need him to start in 2 years. Not to mention, like, his value's not going to go down. He's 0.14. Like, if he starts one game, let's say Vandevort has the cold and misses a game and Toby Layson starts. Toby Layson's probably a 0.4 card just immediately after that. So anyways, that's it. Alex, I think 3 ETH for Donnarumma versus 2 ETH for Vandevort, it's not really in the same ballpark. If you have a Donnarumma and your gallery is relatively small and you don't have like a 200 ETH gallery, Donnarumma shouldn't be on your radar. Not saying he's not a good buy, but like paying 3 ETH today for someone that's useless and you can't really play this year is just not worthwhile. So it's just, I don't think it's a plan someone should have with Donnarumma. And then John St. Clair's not really an option regardless because he turns 20. He's already 24. Actually, he's old, so like he will lose the. Why did he? Is he already lost it?
The St. Clair thing was that he was the starter last year as a U23, and then Tyler Miller replaced him, and Hassel doesn't have somebody like Miller behind him.
Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, Hassel doesn't have someone like Miller behind him. And there's also been discussions like they wanted to start Hassel for a while. Like it's something that was justified. And Josh, in terms of the U23 discussion with like if you have Pani, Lissandro, and all those guys, the point is if you have Lissandro, Sousa, Openda, and Enzo Fernandez, you should have a or a European U23 goalie. And that's why I recommend having a U23 goalie in every region. Like if you don't have an American U23 goalie or you don't have a European U23 goalie, you're going to limit yourself to part of the year, which is why Laird was just talking about like you need guys that cover every portion of the year. Generally, Asia overlaps with America, so you can get away with like having a Tanny instead of like an Ochoa. Right. But like you need a Tanny and a Vandevort. You can't have one or the other. You need both to cover as much as possible. And it goes the same way. Like that line that you're talking about, like with Lissandro, Sousa, Openda, Enzo Fernandez, you have a lot of different leagues covered there that you're going to have weeks where they all are not playing, and therefore it's going to cause you issues. So I like having options within every league if you can realistically, so that you always can run out a lineup that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. If Donnarumma were a full-time starter now, I want to get back to this Alex question, or Donnarumma, 3 ETH Donnarumma versus 2 ETH Vandevort. If you, like you were saying, like you consider Donnarumma a champion Europe goalie, yes. but he is also the best U23 goalie.
Yes, but he's also, if he was a locked-in starter, he also is the best champ Europe goalie.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But getting into U23, and I'm just looking at rare prices, but I assume they kind of apply with limited also. But like, if you focus on U23s and have Donnarumma, or I'm sorry, if you focus on U23s, like you don't want to go and have to buy Lewandowski or Benzema and Cruz and Kimmich, and you want to go the U23 route, would you pay more 3 ETH for Donnarumma versus 2 ETH for Vandevort?
I think that you should not be having Vandevort's very difficult because I think
because he can't stop conceding.
He is. He's really difficult because he is probably in a vacuum the best goalie to own on the platform. Would you agree with that? Like in a vacuum? Like I will say,
no.
Here's an example, right? Like I would. Okay, you don't think that?
No, I think it's Donnarumma.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think Donnarumma is the best.
Oh, I thought you said Van de Voort.
Oh, I might have. I meant Donnarumma.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Donnarumma, and to me, in a vacuum, is the best goalie to own on the entire platform.
Yes.
But if you have a limited budget and you have Donnarumma, he is not playable right now realistically. Like, if you click on him, you're going to see countless DNPs because he's not the starting goalie.
Yeah.
So it's a very tricky. I bought a Donnarumma recently, and the reason I bought it is because of this viewpoint I have. But I also have the ability to not play Donnarumma. Like, look at these DNPs. If you're paying 3 ETH for that, he just obliterates your lineup week after week because he doesn't play. And it's not like goalies just don't matter. The most important statistics for goalies are, do they start every single game without question? And then what team are they on and their age?
Right.
He does not answer question 1 well. So if he doesn't answer that well, that's going to hurt. Whereas, like, you look at Van de Voort has started every single game since, I don't know, the last year. He started every single game. So it's a tricky situation where, like, Donnarumma is a great card to have. And obviously, if everyone could afford it, I would recommend having a Donnarumma. But if you're limited and you have a 10 ETH gallery or you have a 20 ETH gallery and you need guys, you can't tie up 3 ETH in Donnarumma because it just doesn't make sense for you logically.
Yeah, seeing that 38 pointer against Beershot is just killer. Like, the Van de Voort, like, he's the biggest tease on the platform. That's how I've described him. Just killing lineups left and right.
I love Van de Voort. So, actually, we can talk about the U23 situation for the summer because I just bought the card. I didn't want to do it until I got it. And I got turned down by a lot of people. So, Laird and I were talking before the show, and you can pull it up, Laird. This isn't a weekly lineup discussion. This is a just general overall lineup discussion. I probably slightly overpaid for this, so I apologize to everyone that I just raised. See, like, Alex, like, I would not be paying 0.588 for limiteds. I would just not be doing that. I think buying limiteds it's just not the best option for people. And people might think it is, but I think in the long run, it's going to showcase that it's just not as good of an option as rares are. I think rares are like the moneymaker right now. I think that's where you go. But so Laird and I if you look at the summer months going into this summer, which we just talked about, there's going to be 3 months where there is just nothing. It's just a barren wasteland of U23-ness. Goalies very limited. Midfielders not great. Defenders probably okay. Defender, to be fair, is probably going to be okay. But forward is an absolute dumpster fire. So Laird, let's pull up the forward U23 options. And here's the thing. If you're planning to play U23 in the summer and you do not have a Jesus Ferreira, I think you are just absolutely screwed for a good portion of the summer because Asia is a wasteland. There's nothing in Asia. The current best option is Ueda, but he has European rumors, and he might just go to Europe and be relevant there. But, like, let's sort it through L50 or L40 for these forwards. Asia does not have anyone above Diber. Diber also sort of got benched at the end of the year.
He did. I think he's so good too.
I hate him. I think he's such a selfish loser. I watch him.
That's what we want.
But it works. No, from Sorare, he's fine. Sorare, he's a good player, which is all that matters. Like, so it's a good card to have. But, like, watching him play, miserable. The dude's so selfish. He's awful. I do agree, John, that Brenner's a decent option to bring in as well. I think
team in the league.
They suck, but he's going to play. So at least you got that.
They're so bad.
So, did you sort MLS or did you sort America?
This is America. This is MLS.
Yeah, sort America. Like, we'll give you guys a full picture. Like, this is full on America. So there's 3 months where you have America and Asia, and that is it. So Julian Alvarez looks like he might be leaving. If he does not, he's the best option. Tati Castellanos looks like he is leaving. However, he looks to be going to a good spot that could be favorable for him in America. Whether or not he starts there is a TBD type of thing. There is nothing else there. And Jesus Ferreira effectively is a cheat code card in the division when they play. Yeah, the formation doesn't make sense for Diber. They switched the formation once they got Galled in, and it doesn't make sense. So when you look at Jesus Ferreira from a perspective of what he scores from just overall scores, his overall average, and then what also you get from a all-around score, he is far and away the best option for U23 for the entire summer. So like Laird and I looked at it, and something I've looked at before, and I've tried to get these guys in and it just failed. And at this point, like I'm not going to go through the whole summer without having Jesus Ferreira, so I just bit the bullet and I just paid 0.749, which was low on the market. And I probably just pushed the market up for everyone, so I apologize for that because I offered like 5 people and they all rejected me at 0.7, and 2 of them raised their price. So I just bought the last one at 0.749 because of that. So apologies to those of you that are going out there to get it, but if you're planning to play U23 in the summer and you don't have a Jesus Ferreira, whether it be a rare or a super rare, I think you're going to be in a lot of trouble competing, because Ferreira is locked in to be at Dallas this year. He is not going to leave. Yet I have a Cho Young Wook super rare, and he was pretty good at the end of the season, but he had a lot of negative games over the course of the year. So
who got benched all the time too.
Did, but at the end of the year, he was actually pretty solid and pretty consistent. I actually have his super rare, so I do agree with that assessment. But like all these other options are either one going to be worse or slightly worse, or B, not be as consistent. Whereas Ferreira is going to play every single game. He's going to start every single game, and he's going to be a really strong option as well. So Alex, the issue with Ferreira is, so like the new supply doesn't come out till like 2 months into the season. So like, let's say the new cards don't come out till like April. It's a bit tricky to wait. I would recommend having him at the start of the season. Just I don't like waiting. I also, there's 2 reasons. One, the older cards are better than newer cards, which I've talked about before. Which if you guys want to break down on that, we can give another one. But old cards are generally better than new cards, despite what obviously some people say. And they are going to be there at the start of the season. Like if you buy Ferreira now, you can use Ferreira in February, in March, in April. And then when the new cards come out in April, like, okay, great. You've built up as much of a base as you can with that player. So I always recommend just getting the card. I would say just go get the card if you can. Now, if you can't get the card, then yeah, you might want to wait till the new supply comes out. Like, for example, there's no Ferreira super rares on the market. I don't think there will be in the immediate future. And then hypothetically speaking, it'll probably, like, I think the last sale of a Ferreira super rare was probably like 2 to 2.5. Pretty sure if someone were to sell a Ferreira super rare now, it'd be like around 5, which I may not want to pay 5 for. And part of the issue with that too is like, I'm not trying to pay 5 for a super rare when D2 is as terrible as it is.
Sure.
Yeah, Nanzo,
Nanzo, yeah, got the Ferreira unique.
That Ferreira unique is a really good card to hold on to. It's definitely a very promising card, and I'm not even talking from a long-term perspective. And I do think Ferreira is a decent prospect, not as good as like what Pepe is as an actual prospect, but like I think he's a decent prospect, and the way he plays produces more points and scores better than that of like a Pepe. So like I think that he's very good. I think the midfielders, it's not great. There's no like standout midfielders. Guy I really like a midfielder. You can click on Asia for midfielder in U23. Is Daike Matsuoka, and like if Pires was here, he would say how he doesn't like this person. But all right, let's sort from L40. So like if you look,
Mihailovic is pretty good.
Yeah, but so the Mihailovic is good. I'm trying to give like a little bit lower under the radar option. Almendra is actually really good. I won his super rare. I have his super rare as well. And he, I think, is a really good option. But like you're looking at like a lot of 50 averages people, and Matsuoka is a guy that plays every single game and does not miss anything. Like dude just plays everything all the time. From a U23 perspective, like is his scoring out of this world? No, like he's a guy that's going to get you like 50s-ish, like right there. He did pick it up a bit towards the end of the season and was a bit better, but like this is a guy that plays 90s like every single game, doesn't miss a game, you don't have to worry about subs, you don't have to worry about anything, and he's really cheap. Like his super rare was recently on the market for like 0.4. I think it got up to 0.7 and someone bought that. Yeah, Florentine's someone else that I've looked at. And actually, Perez and I have talked about Florentine before. He used Florentine as a Matsuoka comp, John, where they're both pretty similar players and pretty similar options. And then, but yeah, like, so you look at some of these guys, like, look at these top end guys. They're 24. They're all done soon. Whereas Matsuoka is what, 20? And he started since he was 17. This guy's a guy that's played 90 since he was 17. Iraqi's a really good option too, but you're going to pay for Iraqi. And the issue for me is he's all decisive. You have to get the decisive with him. Whereas like Matsuoka, the last 2 games of the year, I think he had the last 3 games, he had no decisive in those games, had 48, 55, and 61 all around scores. Like you see, his all around average was like 20 in those 3 games. And he had stuff like if you click the all and look back through his further graph, he had a lot more upside games back in the past as well, like where he had some other 60s up there. Yeah. But like part of the thing is, and what people need to understand is in the summer, you do not have Noah Lang. You do not have Joey Veerman. You do not have Sangare. This is it. So like for 3 months of the year, these are the guys that are the top end guys. And then there's also a lot of validity having guys that just play every game, which you and I have talked about before. If you play every game, I don't have to worry about you. So like this DNP recently was a yellow card suspension. The one in week 152, he got injured and left week 151 early and then did not play 152. So in the last effectively year and a half, he has 2 DNPs, one being a yellow card suspension that you knew about, the other being an injury that you knew he got injured the game before. Every other game is basically 90 minutes. So it's just that's a guy I like from a perspective of like he always plays. I do have his unique, and it's a really valuable card to me because I have like 5 years of just being able to plop him in there and not have to worry about him playing.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody mentioned Brian Rodriguez from LAFC. I wouldn't rule it out that his card is a midfielder card, even though he always plays forward.
Yeah, they do that stuff. I hate when they don't address some of that stuff because there's some guys that are like that it's like, why is this guy a midfielder? Because
yeah, the wingers are tough, but like that one seems pretty obvious.
Like De Ketelaere. Why is De Ketelaere still a mid?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think he's played mid in like 2 years, and he's listed as a mid. And it doesn't make sense. And the problem is, too, with that is his forward card would be much better.
Oh, yeah.
His mid is super mediocre. His forward card is like would be really, really good card to have.
Like everything about him and should be a forward. Like that's it.
Yeah, Connor, I haven't seen the Bundesliga moments thing. Moments don't interest me at all, though, unless there's utility behind them. But I'll have to look into that after we get off the show. Yeah, Caceres forward card. He looked like he was a good option when he was a forward with the Caceres, but he had a lot of issues last year in terms of like playing and staying on the field and everything.
Yeah, I think he also did he have set pieces at one point? Like he definitely
did. He had sets and then he lost them. Yeah, Ueda is a good option, Nanzo. The issue with Ueda is one, he's not a super consistent scorer. If they have a good matchup, obviously he's a good option. But then two, there's a lot of European rumors around Ueda. And then bringing in Yuma Suzuki indicates to me that either Ueda's gone or Everaldo's gone. And it could be Everaldo. It could be him too. Or it could be both of them are gone. But like Yuma Suzuki's not coming in and sitting on the bench. Like Yuma Suzuki is going to play. And Yuma Suzuki is going to be really good. So like I don't – there's a lot of stuff around Ueda that I'm not intrigued by going into this year for utility purposes. Cifuentes is a really good option. I have always liked Cifuentes. He's someone that has strong moments, but he's scored weird to me. He should be a guy that has a lot better all-around game than
he should be.
Yeah.
I really like Pablo Ruiz as we go down the list. Like if there's a decent chance that he takes all set pieces that Rusnak had.
Yep.
But he's like more of a defensive player, so he has like a solid defensive all-around score. If you get set pieces on top of that, like he could really, really be something.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on Ruiz. I think that's a good shout. The issue with Ruiz is he's a little bit older, so he's like 22. If you're trying to,
I can't think multiple years ahead, Sean. I just need one.
Yeah, well, realistically speaking, like, as long as I have at least one more year after this current season for U23, you're always happy. I do agree with Ruiz because Ruiz used to take set pieces, and he's a guy that like has no upside as of now because of not taking sets, and he's more of a defensive mid. So like last season, if you look, he had very few games where he put up a decisive. If you get set pieces, like you have like a 50 average guy that will probably increase by like, let's say 6 to 8 points and also have more decisive actions. So like I think he could be a pretty viable player as well. I do think that's a good shout as well.
It looks like it's the Haaland unique this weekend.
That should be interesting. That'll
pay some bills.
Yeah, well, especially with ETH as low as it is right now. Let's see if ETH's gone down since we've been on here.
It's going to be at 1,200 by the end of this podcast.
Right? It looks like ETH is at 2,800, so it keeps trending. Was that 27 earlier?
Yeah.
So it rebounded a little bit. So, man, I would expect that Haaland unique to be at least 100 ETH.
Yeah, it could be.
Probably. I'll be interested to see how that goes. Realistically, I would assume Blackpool has a really good shout at it, John. But I will say there are other people that do have chances to get that. They have to
really want it.
You have to want that card. Like you're just not going to get that card unless you want that card. Like, so it's someone that's gonna want that card. And I think you're looking at probably 100 ETH to be looking at it. Cause it's just, you and I talked about like him and versus Mbappe is pretty close. Like in terms of what you get out of it.
Yeah. Do you think somebody like slaps a huge bid down as soon as it opens?
At some point, like maybe
75 ETH.
Maybe not as soon as it opens. Actually, I think I don't think that will happen because I think it's a bad idea because we've actually seen this. So like for those that don't know, like I know that people have had issues with their credit card limit. So if you pop a big bid out there like today, someone has time to go and fix their credit card limit and look at stuff.
That's fair.
I like Ephraim Alvarez Techers. I thought he was for a few years has been like viewed as a guy that was a big time prospect that could make things happen, and it just hasn't really fully evolved for him yet. But like he's someone that like he's in that center mid role. Legit gone would give him quite a bit of value if he starts every game and he takes sets. The issue is that going to happen? Like you look through last year, he had a 78, he had an 83, he had a 71, and he had a 63, but like they were all decisive based. His all around game isn't what I felt like it would be. But it's definitely possible. He's someone that could be pretty solid as well.
He has like a wingers all around.
Yeah, it's his all around's weird. I feel like it should be better, but like part of that could just be him being young. And he's still 19. Like he still has plenty of chances to improve and become a better player. So he's someone that could be someone that you look at that takes a move up this summer. And when we talk about we're talking about like Jesus Ferreira, like he's the end all be all. He's not. Someone's going to establish themselves as a U23 forward or something.
Sure.
Like let's say Julian Alvarez leaves, like there could be a new U23 forward at River Plate that comes in and produces. The issue is that there's no matter what happens, there's going to be very few options, and the only person I can sit there and hang a hat on is Jesus Ferreira. And if that's the case, I want that guy because not having him is incredibly detrimental.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I just saw what time it was, so I feel like we should stop.
Yeah, I mean, we had we had technical issues for like 10, 15 minutes, and we could talk about stuff all day, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, thank you for everyone who has jumped in on the chat. Thank you also for coming back after our initial technical issues. Hopefully, it's like 11 degrees Fahrenheit where I am, and so I'm guessing just the internet's freezing, literally freezing. So I know Mike Basson saying Julian Alvarez is rumored to be leaving Man City.
Julian Alvarez is rumored to like everybody. I've heard so many rumors between him leaving and staying that like I do not believe he will be there after the summer. I guess I can't imagine he's there after the summer. So like I think maybe you get the next couple months out of him, and then he goes to Europe. And like I just don't know. I don't know how he's going to translate when he goes. Yeah, I saw they brought in Barco to replace.
He's going to absolutely dominate.
How much is Barco? Like, I don't know if Barco's a locked-in starter.
He's not.
Like, I'm not a Barco fan. I'm just not that much of a Barco fan.
I've long been a Barco hater, so I don't have like an appropriate.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like, Barco's last year was fantastic. He had a really good year, especially from an all-round perspective. It was great. He's never been a guy that I'm like super interested in, and like I'm not willing to pay 2 ETH for a Barco super rare. Like 0.5 for his rare is probably okay. And I don't think if you did buy him, it's a bad buy. That's just not the guy I'm looking to buy.
Now we're looking for, yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, we can hit that up next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you wouldn't mind taking a quick minute to like the video if you were watching it, or if you're watching live, or if you're getting the replay, if you could like that as well. And for anybody on the audio version, if you could please rate and review it wherever you listen. Good luck to everybody in their Sorare Data Leagues and Cups this weekend. It just seemed like there were so many, so it was great that they were all back. Sean, did you enter all 11?
All 11 what?
All Sorare Data Cups and Leagues?
Well, no, I don't have limiteds.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I don't have limiteds. I did enter.
Who's the whale now, Sean?
I entered all the other ones, but I'm only showing. Oh, here's a question for you. So I'm only showing that I'm in 4 of them. Does that mean I got to buy in the others?
Probably, yeah.
Like, it would just show nothing if I got to buy, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I don't have limited, so I did not enter those. And I think there's just a lot of validity. Oh well. Champ Europe, this is the team I'm up against. Neuer, Hernandez, Kimmich, Lewandowski, Mueller. I'm liking my chances there.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm loving my chances there. But realistically, I mean, the first round, you have a decent shot at getting through as like a lucky loser.
Lucky loser, yeah. Yeah, there's plenty left that you can do. But anyway.
I don't know how to check what league I'm in for the leagues. Like, I think I moved up at the last day of last season. I think I moved up.
Into the Superstar Legend Division or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be back down soon.
Is that well? I mean, I don't know. I usually do pretty well in there. I don't know how do I check that? If I go to
I'll show you. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. It looks like I'm on the pro leaderboard.
Oh, there we go.
Maybe, I don't know. That's what I clicked on, and it took me to pro leaderboard. Yeah. So
anyway, we'll be back next week to talk about Game Week 240. As you guys can tell, we rarely focus on the actual game week. So if there's anything you guys want us to hit on, certainly bring it up. Also, for those of you who listen to the Sorare Andrews podcast, next week is going to be about game modes. So if you guys have any game modes you want us to talk about, feel free to DM me or Andy. You can find me on Twitter at Andrew M. Laird, also available in the Sorare Discord by the same name, or maybe Lairdinho, depends which Discord you're in. But definitely hit me up because we've already gotten some pretty fun ideas, and we just want to talk about the ones that could be fun. So we'll see you next week. Sean, good luck this weekend.
You as well.